Excellent. Can you all hear me? This is working. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today to discuss the future of cruising. I'm here with our dear friend, Rick Sasso, who is an industry leader, almost 50 years in the cruise industry. Not only does Rick have the expertise on cruising, on operations, but he has a passion for what he does. And I know that's going to shine today as you learn about the cruise industry from Rick Sasso today. So with that said, I think what we'll do is we'll talk about a little bit about your history, Rick, your long time, 50 plus years in the cruise industry, and then we will tailor it down to where cruising is today and specifically what MSC is doing. So you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
Thank you for that introduction. 52 years is a long time, but I think what's more relevant is my first job was at the Port of Miami 52 years ago. And things have changed dramatically, so I'll get into that. I graduated from Miami Central High School. I went to Miami-Dade. I got married in the church just across the street here 52 years ago. My son got married in this very room 20 years ago. I've been lucky enough to have started my industry career at an early age where things were not the same as they are today, so one could grow. I was lucky enough to be one of the founding fathers of Celebrity Cruises, where I became its CEO in 1990. And then, fortunately, Mr. Ponte, the MSC owner, Ponte Vago family, asked me to join and open their office here in the United States in 2003. So I've been over 21 years with MSC, and it's been an incredible journey, all 52, but even the last 20, because we have actually grown MSC to be the third largest cruise line in the world. MSC is the largest container ship operator in the world with 840 container ships, all family owned. So I've had a good view of how our industry has evolved over these many years. And there's a little anecdotes I'll throw in during the few minutes that we have together because it's striking. What our industry has done and what PortMiami has done is striking because it's so different and so incredible that it makes all of our business models work very well.
So let's talk a little bit about that, and thank you for the shout-outs for PortMiami. CLIA, which is the Cruise Lines International Association, released a study this past year on the state of the cruise industry, 32 million passengers globally. Here in the state of Florida, well, unfortunately, I'm proud to brag a little bit, PortMiami broke a new world record of 8.2 million cruise passengers, followed by Port Canaveral and Port Everglades as well, the leading cruise ports. Tell us a little bit about how the cruise industry has grown over the years, ship size, how you choose home ports, how you choose ports of calls.
Yes, it's a long story. I was saying a complicated one, but I think our industry has really evolved thanks to the ownerships, the different brands that are owned by different organizations. We knew from the very start, and I'm going back even those 50 years, that it was going to be supply that created the demand for cruising. It wasn't people knocking on our doors saying, hey, we want to go on a cruise. Can't you build a ship for us? So back in the early days, these were ships that were converted at transatlantic ships. They carried about 1,000 passengers. We used to count them with a clicker. So you can imagine how technology has aided us over the last decades. So those ships were, even the showroom, the ceilings were so low that the dancing girls could not wear high hats. Now that the showrooms on these magnificent ships can take 1,400 people in one 3-story theater. So we've seen the supply created the demand. We've seen innovation, incredible innovation in our industry because of the type of ships that we're building now. Of course, they're bigger. They carry 6,000 people. You see the partnership, because that terminal, again, was very small 50 years ago, and now we are building the largest cruise terminal in the world with you here on the east end of the port, and that will take 3 ships at one time and move 36,000 people in and out in a single day. So you can see the transformation has been incredible. It's also innovation, all the things we have innovated in our category of cruise ships, and working together with all the partners, whether engineers or shipbuilders, technology gurus. We really, really have done a good job keeping up with the customer, making sure that because they're bigger, they actually do a lot more for our guests. They give them an array of activity and choices that will meet any customer's desire. So we've done a good job to get to 32 million, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
So just to piggyback off of that, how does MSC distinguish themselves in that type of branding from these ships and destinations?
Well, we're lucky. We're a family-owned company. It's owned by one family. We have a pretty small board, so to speak. So we're talking a lot about what the next generation should be, how we should build more ships. And I think we used quality as a key. We wanted to make sure that the ships were beautiful, of course, but also the quality of the experience interacting with our crew and our staff. We want to make sure food was an exceptional opportunity and variety. We also made sure that we expanded destinations, because when you start, you have maybe 2 ships and you're doing 2 itineraries. So we decided even 20 years ago to start to add those vessels to other ports. We sail year-round from New York now. We have ships in Cape Canaveral. We have ships, obviously, here, 3 or 4 that will come here, and more to follow. I can't give you the details, but more to follow. We have ships we're building an operation in Galveston, Texas. We're going to end up in California a year and a half from now. So in Europe, we're the largest operator of cruise ships in Europe. We have dozens of itineraries of every type. So we're appealing to our guests, and we're an international company. So we're European with an American flavor. And I think that's what really drives people to want to pick us. So we've invested a lot of money. We've done it timely, we've done it unselfishly, and we've made sure that we put the right ships in the right ports. I chose Miami 13 years ago, 12 years ago, because of this lady. And Bill Johnson. Sorry, Bill, yes. You're over here. Bill and Hydi came banging on my door every 6 months. Come on, move your ships down to Miami. Move your ships to Miami. Finally, I said, let's do it. So 2013, I think.
Correct.
Yeah. So we've been here 11, 12 years already, thanks to Bill and Hydi.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Bill, for those of Bill Johnson, everybody knows in this room, former PortMiami director and my mentor also. Thank you, Bill. So as we talk about the growth of ships are getting bigger, cruise terminals are needing to get bigger. Sustainability at PortMiami and ports throughout the world really plays a huge impact. Everything that we do, every terminal we built is built LEED certified with sustainable efforts. Our largest program, actually, we just launched this past June, which is our shore power program. We're implementing shore power at 5 of our cruise terminals, your new facility being one of those coming up very soon. But tell us a little bit about sustainability with MSC and specifically about the MSC Foundation.
Yeah, thank you. That's my favorite subject. And I start usually when someone asks me a question like this with the following. There are 3 types of companies or people in the world. There's people who could give a damn about sustainability and the environment. They don't even think about it. Then there's the group that only do what they need to do in order to comply with regulations and so forth. And then there's companies that do it because they know it's a responsibility and it's a core value of the company's growth. And so that's MSC. In fact, the cruise industry at large is also in that category, because what we have done over the last decades even to try and propel our responsibility. MSC being private, we do it even to an exaggerated extent. I mean, we have ships now that have propellers that are quiet so we don't disturb marine life. We have activity through the foundation, as you know. This foundation, MSC, is a private foundation. We do things that are probably going to impact the world. I'll give you 2 quick examples. The first is in Ocean Cay, Bahamas, the foundation has established a marine reserve conservation center. So all of our millions of passengers are going to be able to actually walk into that. The real core of that is super coral survival. We have decided that with the deterioration of coral around the world at a rapid pace, more so than any other thing you could imagine, We have set up a research center there with colleges and scientists and so forth, where we're now studying for the last year and a half how to create a super coral. That super coral is designed for us to take those species and create one that can withstand the rising temperature of the oceans, climate change, and all those things. We've had huge success with it already. So I see that over the next years, us being able to get that to other destinations around the world that so desperately need to protect the coral. It also protects our coastlines. It's not just 2% of the ocean floor coral, 25% of the marine sustainability is because of coral. So if coral goes away, we got a big problem. All of us have a big problem. We do a lot of relief efforts. We make sure we recover from hurricanes and help people with whether it's container boxes or supplies and stuff. So the foundation is really, really into communities and into sustainability. And there are many things. Like, it would take me more than hours to give you all the details of what we do as a sustainable organization. We produce a 100-page report every year, just listing the things that we do about our relationship and our responsibility for sustainability.
Excellent.
Let me give you one quick one. In
Sure,
the Ivory Coast, sorry, because these are part of me. In the Ivory Coast, we paid the women of the village to pick up plastics and all the debris around that town. We paid them a salary. We took those bricks, that waste, and we created bricks out of the plastic. And with the bricks, we built schools. So now you have even the young kids are looking at their school and saying, hey, this was done because of some humanitarian, some responsible group of people. But it also helped the community in terms of, resources and stuff. So we're very proud of particularly that one. It's really cool. Sorry.
It's a lot to be proud of, yeah. Applause well deserved. So one topic that we all can relate to was the COVID pandemic. Fortunately, we've all recovered from it. I think the cruise industry was unique in the sense that it was really the only industry that was completely 100% shut down for almost 18 months. Fortunately, there is a pent-up demand for cruising. Cruising numbers are better than ever. We at the Port of Miami just released an economic impact post-COVID. And I'm proud to share with you that our economic impact is $61 billion to the economy, creating over 340,000 jobs. But we learned a lot of lessons through the COVID pandemic. We never stopped building. We believed in the cruise industry. We opened up 3 new cruise terminals as soon as the pandemic was over. But Rick, tell us a little bit about what the cruise industry learned from the pandemic and really what your numbers are like today, how they've grown.
Yeah, the first thing we learned that it was never on a SWOT analysis as a threat. So we all changed our vision of a SWOT analysis. I think the most compelling thing was how we all worked together. Every CEO and every management group of each one of those cruise lines were automatically working closer together than we've ever done before. We were putting scientific results together. We were organizing medical research. We were making sure that we equipped our ships with the prophylactic stuff for testing, PCR and the rest. So we, I think, as any industry, probably never even in the world, got to this very quickly. We put all our resources behind it. We did all the science studies you needed to do. That was more than what the governments were telling us. And we were able, in fact, MSC started cruising in August 20, after 6 months. Why? Because if you went on one of our ships, you were safer than going into your own supermarket. We had every protocol in place that protected people's health. And we kept that up for months and months and months. And now the industry has rebounded. We're looking for different ways to make sure we can even have prophylactic versions to prevent future catastrophes like that. But our industry, probably being the worst hit, came out of it the best, because we are now full speed ahead. Our industry is doing incredible right now, probably the best I've ever seen in my 52 years.
Excellent. So before I open it up to the floor for questions, I'd be remiss if I didn't brag for a little bit about the partnership between MSC and Miami-Dade County. MSC is opening up their new headquarters office in Miami-Dade County, downtown Miami, in the Block 44 building. For cruise and cargo, for both sides of the industry. And as you drive down the highway, I can see the massive signs that are hanging with the pictures of the container ships and the cruise ships. It's very, very exciting. But you're also building what will be the world's largest cruise terminal at the Port of Miami in partnership with Miami-Dade County. And we can't wait for that to open. Are there any teasers that you can share with us about the terminal or about what ships might be deployed here in Miami?
The PR and marketing people told me to keep my mouth shut, so I have to be a little bit careful. I need to brag a little bit about the group at PortMiami because the commissioners, all the commissioners, were very favorable to what you were sponsoring, and Bill was pushing this agenda, and it was smart because without the supply, meaning your ports, we have no place to go. We're building the largest cruise terminal in the world, not because we wanted to be the largest cruise terminal, but because we have visions of expansion that are incredible. So that terminal can actually take 3 ships on the same day. So we know we're going to at least have 2 on many days. And so those ships will be going to the Eastern and Western Caribbean. They'll be doing longer cruises, 10-day cruises, 3- and 4-day cruises. We plan to do even, our Explorer brand. We have a brand with luxury ships, carried 800 passengers. They're also in Miami, and they'll be doing trans-canal cruises and the rest. So we have a lot of expansion coming up. MSC is dedicating North America as one of its prime markets now. So there's going to be a lot going on. That particular terminal, as you mentioned, it has all the certifications. It has a shore power. It has a beautiful design. So my favorite thing to say is I think that the building itself will be iconic for this county, for this city. And I think when people fly over it or when they drive by it on the highway, they're going to go, what the heck is that? So I think we're going to have some recognition based on the fact that this thing aesthetically and engineering-wise is an incredible work of art and engineering success. So it's going to be super.
Thank you. And I got to tell you, the cruise industry has really changed and grown from a port's perspective over the number of the years. Back in the day, a cruise ship, I remember, a cruise line never wanted a passenger to remember what a cruise terminal looked like. The phenomena started, God, Bill, well over 10 years ago, where ports and cruise lines started investing together, where cruise lines are actually spending money on the infrastructure to build in our ports, which is a phenomenon because once they start investing their money, you're pretty well guaranteed that business is going to come, right? So it's a success for everybody. So I want to just point out that change in the industry over the years and that partnership and the dual commitment to grow the industry. So I'm looking at the timer down here and I'm seeing that we're kind of cutting it close on time. Can I open it up to the floor for any questions for either Rick or myself before we close out the panel?
Hi, thank you both for this marvelous presentation. I'm a student at FIU with the Adam Smith Center, and one of the questions I had for both of you was, tourism and cruising, aside from being an asset for the economy, in your experiences, has it also ever been an asset for diplomacy and geopolitical negotiations?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, actually, because most of my job as chairman of this side of the world, the owners, the real chairman, I'm just a second chairman. Most of my job now is government relations. Most of it requires me to talk to governors, prime ministers, port owners, infrastructure development around the world, basically, but more so in North America and the Caribbean from my role. And during those dialogues, you're always going to get somebody say, can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? We have some need in this destination and that, or the governor says, how can we do this better for Florida? And so all of those dialogues always have some root well beyond just tourism. Yes, we produce 32 million, 35 million probably in a year and a half from now. Yes, we produce a lot of economic benefit that cuts across every border. There is no central place that benefits from this. It's spread apart so many industries and so many people. So when we deal with these governments, and it could be for me, Mexico, the Florida governor, somebody from Barbados and whatever, or Bahamas, we talk about common needs. It's not just the tourism piece. What does the destination need? What do the people of that destination need? We have actually built schools in a BVI after a hurricane. When a hurricane destroyed all the schools in BVI, we actually sent containers with portable schools. And now there's 4,000 kids have an education. So it's That's just one example, but that's what happens when you have dialogue with government. You need to find out what they need, and they certainly need to support some of our needs. But it's really a great working relationship that gives the face of our industry a pretty big smile.
I would agree. Any other questions?
Hello, Rick. We met at the C-Trade show so many years ago. Rick, since you are doing and building the largest terminal in Miami,
In the world.
in the world, and you are talking about education as well, how this gonna impact, like, for bring more workers and people specialized in the maritime world? Like, for example, you are talking about government, so how many lawyers or firms are really related with that? How many schools of naval architects? Because in Europe it's very open. And even though Europe doesn't have the benefits that America has, or the United States has on both sides of the oceans. It has the Pacific, it has the Atlantic, and there are so many, in fact, I'm saying so many shipyards in Europe, but not in United States, and neither education for this industry, to develop of this industry.
Yeah. The shorter answer to that is our industry is always open-minded to work and educate. So there's always an educational piece. There's always something where we give back. Even some of the core values of most of the companies, including MSC, is education, community, and the rest. Our industry, and I'll close with this, is probably the most unique industry on the planet. Why? Because when you take one of these cruise ships and you think about it's a floating city, because there are casinos on board and gift shops and entertainment venues and dining venues and housing venues and technology venues. We now have satellites that are making sure people on a cruise get the fastest internet they could ever get, because that's something that they kept asking us for. I don't want to go away because we do that. We put the best satellites, we put multiple satellites, we train people from every walk of life, whether he was a dishwasher or the captain of the ship. So cruise ships have this innate ability to be able to educate, train, and hire people from every walk of life. Whether you're a waiter or a busboy or the captain of a ship, this is what our industry does. So it's unique in every respect. And I'm very proud that, that this industry has been able to deal with all of that, because we're not selfish. It's an industry that keeps giving back to the community, and MSC leads the way on that. Thank you very much.